Welcome back, everyone, to the Daily Financial News Roundup. We've got a wild mix of stories today.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on.
From China's push to get people spending
Hmm.
to I guess the surprising dominance of SUVs all over the world.
Yeah. Not the little electric cars we were promised, huh?
Not quite. And of course, we got to talk about gold hitting that crazy new high.
Well, 3,000. It's wild.
It is. Plus, Palantir executives selling off tons of their own stock.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Always makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does. So let's get right into it. First up, China. They're aiming for 5% growth this year,
Right.
which, on its own is pretty ambitious these days.
For sure.
But then you add in the fact that they're dealing with deflation.
18 months straight, prices dropping.
Yeah, and I know some folks might think, hey, cheaper stuff, what's the problem?
Right.
But it actually kind of freezes up spending in a way.
It does. Creates this
Right.
vicious cycle. People think, oh, it'll be even cheaper next month.
They keep waiting, yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
if they don't buy, businesses hurt, could even lead to job losses.
And China really doesn't need that right now.
No, especially as they're trying to shift away from relying so much on exports.
What with the tariffs and all that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Beijing's trying, really trying, to get folks spending again.
How so?
Oh, they're boosting social welfare, giving childcare subsidies,
Mhm.
huge discounts on all sorts of stuff.
Like what?
Oh, electronics, cars, you name it. It's like
Wow.
pulling out all the stops.
But there's that whole other factor too, right? China's saving culture.
That's huge. Way higher savings rates than most countries, like over 30% last year.
Double what we see in the U.S.
Yeah, so it's a tough battle they're fighting. Even if they incentivize spending, that habit of saving is strong.
So it makes you wonder, will it actually be enough?
Right. And some folks are saying maybe China doesn't really want a consumer-led economy anyway.
Interesting, because that would shift things up so much, right?
Totally. They've been all about exports, government-led stuff. This would be a big change.
Big change. All right, well, let's move on to something a little more, I guess, on the road.
Literally.
Yeah, the rise of SUVs. I mean, remember a few years back, it was all about tiny electric cars.
Yeah, like that was the future.
And now it's
Giant SUVs everywhere you look.
54% of all new cars sold last year were SUVs.
And most of them still guzzling gas.
So what happened?
Well, economies in places like, India, China, they're booming.
So people have more money to spend.
Right. And they want bigger cars. Plus, there's just that appeal. Space, comfort.
Families, road trips, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And of course, car companies, they love it.
Why is that?
SUVs are just way more profitable. Even if they sell fewer cars overall, they're making more money per car.
That makes sense. But what about the environmental impact?
Right, that's the big problem.
More SUVs means more fuel, more emissions.
Yeah, the International Energy Agency, they said fuel use from SUVs went up like 600,000 barrels per day
Yeah.
just between 2022 and 2023. Yeah. And if all the SUVs in the world were a country, they'd be like the 5th biggest polluter.
Yikes.
Yeah, not great. But to be fair, the industry is pushing electric and hybrid SUVs now.
Saying it'll help with the whole emissions thing.
Right. Problem is, studies are showing that a lot of these hybrids, they don't actually run on electric as much as they could.
So not as green as they're making it seem?
Pretty much. Seems like people wanting big cars and companies wanting big profits, it's kind of winning out over the environment for now.
A story we see play out a lot, sadly. Okay, let's switch gears completely here. Palantir, the tech company.
Oh yeah, the one with all that data stuff.
Right, well, they're executives. They just sold off a massive chunk of stock.
Like $328 million worth.
Yeah, and this is getting attention, especially from people who are already skeptical of Palantir.
Like Jim Chanos, the short seller. He's calling him out, saying they're hyping up the company while dumping their shares.
So does that mean they're losing faith?
It's hard to say for sure. Some analysts are still bullish, pointing to those government contracts they have.
Right, they do a lot of work for, intelligence agencies and stuff, right?
Yeah, and they're big in data analytics. But others are more cautious.
What are they worried about?
Competition, mainly.
Hmm.
And also, relying so much on government work can be risky.
What if those contracts dry up?
Exactly. So this stock sale, it's like another piece of the puzzle. Could be just smart money management, could be a lack of confidence. Who knows?
Makes you think. Now, for some news that's got everyone talking, gold.
Through the roof.
Over $3,000 an ounce, first time ever.
It's a classic safe haven, right? When the world feels shaky, people run to gold.
And with all the trade tensions, tariffs, who knows what's going to happen next? It makes sense.
Totally. Plus, historically, you look at when gold spiked before.
It often lines up with, like, major economic crises.
Exactly. Not saying that's what's happening now, but
Worth noting.
yeah. And look, this doesn't mean everyone should go buy gold bars tomorrow.
Right, right.
It's about a balanced portfolio, talking to a financial advisor, all that good stuff.
Absolutely sound advice. Now, before we move on, let's hit a few other big headlines real quick.
Fire away.
President Trump's moving to close down the Voice of America, saying it's biased.
Wow. VOA's been around since, like, World War II.
Yeah, broadcasting all over the world.
Lots of folks are saying this is bad for free press, could impact how information gets shared globally.
Big implications there. Meanwhile, the OECD is saying this whole trade war thing.
Yeah, not looking good for Canada and Mexico.
They're predicting their economies are going to take a hit.
It shows how connected everything is, you know.
Yeah.
One fight, everyone feels it.
It's like a domino effect. And speaking of global tussles, Apple's in a legal battle with the UK government.
Over encrypted data, right?
Yeah. The UK wants a way in, saying it's for national security. Apple's saying that'll weaken everyone's security.
Classic privacy versus safety debate. Tough one.
No easy answers there. Now, one last thing before we take a break. People are actually choosing to be less online.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, all the data breaches, scams, worries about how our info's being used.
Makes sense. People are getting cautious.
But it makes you wonder, how do we balance that convenience of the digital world with staying safe?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, we can all be more careful what we post, use strong passwords, all that.
But it's a much bigger issue for sure.
It is. Finding that balance is going to be key going forward.
Agreed. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we've got more news to dig into, so stay with us.
Yeah, finding that balance, it's tough.
Definitely. And everyone's got their own take on it, right?
Oh, for sure.
Take Elon Musk. Reid Hoffman, you know, the LinkedIn guy.
Yeah.
He's been criticizing Musk's whole approach to government.
With the Department of Government Efficiency, right? The DOGE thing.
Yeah, that one. Hoffman's basically saying you can't run government like a business.
He thinks Musk's too focused on speed, cutting cost.
Which makes sense, to a point.
Right. But Hoffman says that misses the nuances of government. Could even hurt democratic processes.
It's interesting, right? Because Musk is all about disruption.
Yeah, move fast, break things.
And Hoffman's more like, hold on, let's think this through.
Especially when it comes to something as important as government.
Exactly. And there's already debate about whether Musk's DOGE is actually saving money.
Yeah, some people are saying those big savings numbers they're touting, like $65 billion.
It's not all it seems.
Or maybe some creative accounting going on.
We'll see how that all plays out. Okay, let's lighten things up a bit.
Sure.
AI, you know, it's serious stuff. But there's this study that found...
AI's making memes now.
Yeah, and funny ones, too.
Oh, no, are robots going to be writing comedy now?
Well, not quite. Apparently the AI memes were funnier than the average person's.
Okay, so there's still hope for humanity.
Right. The best human memes were still better.
Phew.
But still, it's kind of crazy to think about, right? AI doing humor.
It is. What's next? AI stand-up comedians.
Don't give many ideas, but it does show how fast this stuff is developing.
No kidding. All right, back to the money side of things. Warren Buffett, the legend himself,
He's been busy.
buying up Japanese stocks like crazy.
Yeah, those trading companies, Mitsubishi, Mitsui, all those.
And their prices are jumping because of it.
The Buffett effect, I guess. He's been saying for a while that he likes Japanese companies.
Sees them as undervalued.
Good for long-term growth.
And he's not just talking, he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Over $23 billion worth through Berkshire Hathaway.
That's a big statement. But here's the thing. While he's buying up Japanese stocks,
he's also sitting on a mountain of cash.
like a record amount, over $334 billion.
So what's he waiting for?
Who knows? Maybe he thinks the market's going to drop or...
Or he's got his eye on some specific sector.
Right. It's that classic Buffett patience, you know. Wait for the right moment.
Smart. Speaking of timing, Changpeng Zhao, CZ, as everyone calls him.
The Binance guy.
Yeah, he's got some thoughts on all these AI agent services popping up.
A lot of them are launching their own crypto tokens.
Which CZ is not a fan of.
He's basically saying, hold on, not every AI thing needs its own token.
Focus on building something useful first.
And use existing crypto for payments. Don't just create more coins for the sake of it.
Sounds like solid advice coming from the head of the biggest crypto exchange.
Yeah, when CZ talks, people listen.
Oh.
And speaking of crypto, Peter Schiff, you know, the gold bug.
Mr. Bitcoin is a bubble himself.
Right. Well, he's doing something interesting.
What's that?
He's using the fact that gold is at a record high.
To sell his own Bitcoin NFTs.
Ironic, right?
So he's selling what, like digital art or something?
Yeah, his own artwork, but represented as NFTs on the Bitcoin blockchain.
And he thinks this is good
He's
because,
saying it adds value to his art, proves it's authentic, can't be copied.
huh, so even a hardcore gold guy is seeing some use for Bitcoin.
Seems like it. It's wild how these worlds are colliding, you know? Finance, art,
Oh,
crypto.
you never know what's coming next. Okay, some good news for a change. Renewable energy. LONGi, they make solar panels. They're teaming up with a company called BNZ.
To build a huge solar project in Europe.
Yeah, in southern Europe. It's going to
Yeah.
be massive, something like 336 megawatts.
And BNZ, they're planning to have over 500 megawatts of solar power going in Spain, Portugal, and Italy this year alone.
That's a lot of clean energy.
It is. And LONGi's panels, they're super efficient.
Which is key, right? The more energy you can squeeze out, the better solar can compete with fossil fuels.
Absolutely. As solar gets cheaper and more efficient, we're going to see more and more of these big projects.
That's the hope. Now, over in the EV world, BYD, the Chinese company,
Making some waves, huh?
big time, they just unveiled a new charging system,
And it's fast.
like 5 minutes fast.
5 minutes to fully charge an EV. That's crazy.
That's faster than filling up a gas tank.
This could be huge.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest worries about EVs is how long it takes to charge.
Exactly. BYD is saying they're putting this tech in their new cars, which they're going to start selling in Europe.
So Tesla's got to be feeling the pressure.
Speaking of, Tesla's stock, it took a dip
Yeah, like almost 5%.
after some analysts lowered their price target.
They're worried demand for Teslas is slowing down, especially in the US, China, and Europe.
And they lowered their sales forecast for the next couple of years.
So is this the beginning of the end for Tesla?
Too soon to say. They're still the big name in EVs, but
But the competition is getting fierce.
no doubt, BYD, all the traditional car companies getting in on the game.
It's going to be a wild ride seeing who comes out on top.
All right, one last quick story before we wrap up today. Okay, so let's check in on the crypto markets before we wrap things up.
Seems like Bitcoin, Ethereum, even Dogecoin, they're all kind of following the stock market today.
Oh yeah, all up a bit.
Yes, slightly. But some analysts are saying, for Bitcoin to really turn things around.
It needs to break through some key price levels.
Exactly. Like get above 85,000, then 89,000. That would be a sign.
That it's back on an upswing.
Right. For now, it's still a bit shaky after all the volatility we've seen.
Crypto, always a roller coaster. Okay, one last story for today, and it's back to the US and China.
Oh, what now?
The U.S. Commerce Department's banning the Chinese AI model, DeepSeek, from government devices.
More tech tension.
Yeah. The U.S. is saying they're worried about DeepSeek getting access to sensitive info.
And some states have already done similar bans.
Seems like we're in a whole new era of competition, right? Everyone's suspicious of everyone else's tech.
Definitely. Makes you wonder, how do we collaborate on AI globally if everyone's worried about, spying and stuff?
It's a tough one. You want innovation, but also got to protect yourself.
Exactly. Finding that balance is going to be key in the years to come.
Well, that's all the news we've got for you today. We covered a lot, from China trying to boost spending to SUVs taking over the roads.
And of course, gold going through the roof, all that AI stuff, and those fast-charging EVs.
It's a wild world out there, and it changes fast.
So staying informed is more important than ever.
We hope you found this roundup helpful. Remember, knowledge is power. Stay curious, keep learning, and we'll catch you next time for another dive into the world of finance and business.